प्रभु जी माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम। जय शिला प्रभुपाद।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। गुड मॉर्निंग।
दंडवत प्रणाम स्वामी माता जी। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी,
हरे
दंडवत
कृष्ण
प्रणाम।
प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी।
दंडवत प्रणाम राधा भावनी माता जी एंड हिमांशु। हरे
हरे
कृष्ण।
कृष्ण प्रभु जी,
हरे
दंडवत
कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम। जय श्री प्रभुपाद।
दंडवत प्रणाम अलगा माता जी नंदिनी सुंदर माता जी। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम। जय श्री प्रभुपाद।
दंडवत प्रणाम माता जी। हरे कृष्ण। Begin now. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च। श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टाप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपाकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। So today we are discussing from the third canto, chapter 5th. This is last week. Last week we were discussing about the ending of the meeting between Uddhav and Vidur. And we ended with the Uddhav describing about the Mausal Leela, which is the pastime of Lord Krishna's disappearance. And then the last instruction, we discussed about Uddhava going back and Uddhava meeting with Lord Krishna. And that time Maitreya Rishi was also there. This is just before Krishna departed to the spiritual world. And we discussed how that conversation went, the different topics that were discussed. Uddhava mentioned that the way Narayan spoke Bhagavatam to Brahma, the same knowledge Uddhava requested Krishna to give. Uddhava heard Bhagavad Gita from Krishna in Dwarka. This is just before Lord Krishna went to Prabhas Kshetra. In Prabhas Kshetra, Uddhava, along with Maitreya Muni, heard the essence of Bhagavatam from Lord Krishna himself. Then Vidura glorified Uddhava, and Vidura said, "Oh dear Uddhava, the great saints, they are very merciful. And for the sake of deliverance of the fallen conditioned souls, they spread the message of Bhagavatam. So please describe to me what Lord Krishna has described to you about Shrimad Bhagavatam. Then Uddhava said, I have been, Uddhava, in his heart, Uddhava was thinking that Maitreya is more qualified, and Maitreya is senior, and Maitreya also heard Bhagavatam from Krishna. We both were there. And since he is senior, um, um, and Vidura is also senior to him. So Uddhava didn't feel comfortable speaking to such a senior because Vidura is like a father's age to Uddhav. Although Uddhav position is very high, because he's a resident of Dwarka eternally. But he felt this is called, Prabhupada says, Maryada, or um, etiquette. So he said better he hear from Maitra Rishi. Another thing also, Uddhav was thinking that I received another instruction from Lord Krishna to go and share the message and give Krishna's association through me to the sages in Himalayas. Um, the Nar Narayan Rishi and the followers of Nar Narayan Rishi. So I must do that service that Krishna has assigned to me. So for these reasons, Uddhava requested him that you go and hear it Bhagavatam from Maitreya Rishi. And Uddhava also said that after describing this Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna specifically mentioned to Maitreya, please give this message to Vidura. And we saw that how Vidura was overwhelmed, that Krishna himself remembered Vidura just before departure, and he said to Maitreya, give this message to Vidura. And Vidura, then that conversation, they discuss a lot, entire Krishna's pastimes, including Krishna in Vrindavan, then Krishna in Mathura, and Krishna in Dwarka, and then Krishna's disappearance. And these are covered in 3 chapters. And we discussed those in past 3 sessions. And now the whole night went in conversation like a moment. And after that, Uddhava departed for Himalayas. And Vidura departed for Haridwar. And in Haridwar, on the bank of Ganges, then there is a meeting with uh, Maitreya Rishi. And Maitreya Rishi is described as a friend of Vyasadeva. Okay. This particular chapter we will discuss in 2 sessions because there are over 50 verses. So we'll discuss maybe half an hour today and the remaining part next week. So this chapter begins with Sukadev Goswami. This conversation between Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. And it is said that Vidura had already perfected his devotional service. Already. भाव सिद्धा, सिद्धा मीन सिद्धि मिल गई उनको, भाव की सिद्धि मिल गई at the stage of bhav. And we also know Vidura from his previous life is Yamaraj. And we know that Yamaraj is one of the Mahajans. Ajamil pastime happens in Satyug Treta Yuga. And there itself, Yamaraj gave instruction and it is described 12 Mahajans. Among them, Yamaraj is one of the Mahajan. And he came as Vidura. So Vidura is always a pure devotee. And he has already perfected his devotional service. And then he went to Maitreya Rishi in Haridwar, and then he made the following inquiries. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions the inquiry Vidura made, beginning is not about the intimate pastimes of Krishna. Like Uddhav and Vidura, uh, everything they discussed about is Krishna's pastimes. And here, this is the first time Vidura is like Uddhav and Vidura, they are friends because Dwarka, Krishna would keep coming to Hastinapur and they would go there also. So there is a close working relationship. And Uddhava, Vidura knows Uddhava. But Maitreya Rishi is little formal relationship at this point of time. It's like he is self-realized. Maitreya Rishi, he heard directly from Krishna. But then at a personal level, that relationship is not there. So Vidura was feeling not very comfortable to directly ask about the pastimes of Krishna, because the pastimes of Krishna are very intimate. And also, Uddhava has told Vidura that Krishna described the intimate pastimes for my sake, because Uddhava was very intimate. And he knew that, and Maitreya was not fully purified that time. So Vidura thought this is not appropriate to ask intimate pastimes from Maitreya. Rather, if Maitreya decides by his own free will, then he can decide. Then he can recite those also. So Vidura asked those questions which are more relevant to common people. So now we are sitting in Haridwar on the bank of Ganges, and there are two great personalities. One is Vidura, who is Mahajan, and one is Maitreya Rishi, who directly heard Bhagavatam from Lord Krishna. And both are described that both are pure devotees here. So naturally, the Sambad uh, conversation will be very deep. So Vidura, first question to Maitreya Rishi. Vidura said, everybody in this world is engaged in karma. Is doing some activity, some fruitive activity. Everyone, and they are doing fruitive activities, or they are doing so many karmas for happiness. Vidura is asking. Vidura is saying they are doing so many things for happiness, but they don't find happiness there. They are working very hard. They are working very hard to get happiness in this world, in various material activities. But ultimately, they are not finding that deep. They are not finding deep satisfaction. They're not finding deep happiness. And although they are not finding either satisfaction or happiness, yet they are not detached from doing those also. Rather, they are increasing their suffering. Therefore, Vidura is asking to Maitreya Muni, please give us direction how to look, how to live a life that will lead to real happiness. So this is again, Vidura is saying, people are working in this world. People are working very hard in this world. People are thinking, people are desiring happiness. That's why they're working so hard. But they're neither finding their deep happiness nor their deep satisfaction. Although they are not finding either of them, they are not willing to give up those activities also, in the hope that they will find happiness. And they are working very hard. And rather, all these things are leading them to misery, leading them to suffering. So please tell, how should a person live in this world that he can actually experience the real happiness? Then Vidura glorifies Ud- um, Vidura glorifies Maitreya Muni. He says that great personalities, great philanthropic, philanthropic means who help others, great philanthropic souls, they travel on the earth on behalf of Lord Krishna to show compassion to the fallen souls who are averse to the sense of subordination to the Lord and are thus suffering. So these are all very nice verses. Um, so Vidura is telling that these great personalities, they travel everywhere. They go all over. They go home to home, and they show compassion to those who are not interested in Krishna and who are suffering in this material world. They are suffering, and still they are not interested in Krishna, because they have some false hopes they'll become happy in this world. So these great souls, they travel just to help them, even though they're not looking for it, just to help them get what they want, what they are looking for it. Even though they're externally not interested, they still stretch themselves to help those people. This is the quality of philanthropic souls or great souls. And why they are doing this? They are doing this just they are working on behalf of Lord Krishna. Then another very nice verse. Then Vidura is telling, please tell me how to practice bhakti yoga, how to practice devotional service, so that Paramatma is pleased to impart knowledge of absolute truth from within. This is very instructive actually. Vidura naturally is a pure devotee and he perfectly knows how to serve Krishna. Um, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a conversation between Sanatan Goswami and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sanatan Goswami asked Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please tell me what is the goal of life? Who I am? How to attain that goal? What is the sadhana? What is the sadhya? And who am I? These are one of the few questions Sanatan Goswami asks. Sadhya is what is the goal, and sadhana is how to attain that goal, and what is my real position. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that you are um, you are um, fit to be the guru of the entire universe, um, and you have full knowledge within you yourself. But then it is the quality of great souls that they inquire for confirmation. So here, it's not that Vidura is asking only for the sake of common people. Vidura is actually curious to hear the realization of Maitreya Muni, and he wants to testify through Maitreya Muni. So this is the quality of the great souls. They are very advanced. Yet they ask something very basic and something very simple and something very direct to see what other pure devotees had to say. So they can learn something from it and they can grow from it, although they themselves has attained perfection. So this is a quality. And Vidura is asking about what is how to find real happiness, how people who are looking for real happiness are not really happy, and great souls, those who are not happy, great souls, teach them how to become happy by surrender to Krishna or through devotional service. So here Vidura is not asking, give me transcendental knowledge, give me knowledge, tell me like he is not asking for knowledge. He is asking for the process how to surrender to Krishna. How do I become closer to Krishna? How do I render devotional service to Krishna? Because by doing that, the Lord will be pleased, the super soul will be pleased with me. And if super soul is pleased with me, then he will reveal that knowledge from within my heart. So please tell me how to render devotional service. So what we can learn from here is knowledge is not acquired from hearing or reading. By hearing, by reading, we can understand the principle, but until we are realized, we cannot act on that principle until we are realized. For example, we may hear Krishna has 6 opulences, and one of the opulence of Krishna is renunciation. And we were discussing yesterday evening about renunciation. And we were discussing how Lord Krishna describes renunciation is not a dress. It's not an order of life, brahmachari, sannyas, or grihastha. Renunciation is something way beyond that. Renunciation is not being attached to our desires, to be able to let go of our desires, to be able to let go of the demands of our senses and be satisfied even if we don't get what the desires may be, to be able to give it up. That is a principle of renunciation. And yesterday I was giving this example that if we eat one gulab jamun, then naturally the mind says, let me go and get one more gulab jamun. But then one way renunciation can be, I'm okay with one. let others let others have more. This is fine. So the desire is there, but to let go of the desire, that person is truly renounced. Krishna says, one who is not attached is truly renounced. Krishna speaks about false renunciation in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, um, Indriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smara Indriyana vimudatma mityachari sauchyate. Krishna says, Indriyani samyamya, one who has withdrawn his indriyas from sense object. No, not this, not this. I don't want any of these things. Indriyani samyamya या अस्ते मनसा स्मरण पर तब भी मन में स्मरण करता है. He is withdrawing his senses from the sense object, yet he remembers those things in his mind. Then Krishna says, Indriyana Vimudatma. He is a Vimuda, Mityachari Sauchyate, and he is called a hypocrite or a Mityachari. This is for so real renunciation. So Krishna rejects this false renunciation. Like, okay, now. So we may hear about this principle of renunciation, but then um, how many of us can actually act and are willing to let go of the demand of our maybe mind and senses and maybe just simple desires? How many of us can find happiness just by letting go? But rather, we always run towards these things. So it's one thing to know, it's one thing to actually be able to act on it. When we are able to act on what the scripture says, what we hear from our spiritual master, from Srila Prabhupada, then that is a realized knowledge. Realized knowledge means we are able to act on it. Also, Shrimad Bhagavatam describes um, knowledge and renunciation as the kits of bhakti. It is said, one who perform bhakti, in their heart, renunciation knowledge will come. How much we were attached before we came to Krishna consciousness to material things has significantly reduced than where we are now. But we have not become pure yet. I mean, I'm talking about myself. We have a long way to go still. But then there is some renunciation that has come, and there is some knowledge that has come. And this is not, these two are acquired only by the process of bhakti. And Vidura is self-realized soul. So Vidura is not asking how to develop renunciation, how to develop knowledge. Here he's speaking about knowledge. He's telling, please tell me how to practice bhakti so that when the super soul is pleased, then he may impart real knowledge to me from within. So that's why it is said in Guru Puja we sing, Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. The realized knowledge is revealed from within the heart. It is, there are some people who love to read whole day and night, but they don't chant and they don't do much direct devotional service. Of course, reading is also a form of bhakti, but there is no, it's also bhakti for sure, but there is no chanting or uh, they may want to read book for knowledge or to speak or just to know. Um, it's helpful also, but if somebody takes on the path, sincerely takes on the path of bhakti, then that knowledge will be solidified and will become realized from within our heart. So Vidura says, please give me instruction now how to practice devotional service. Then another question, Vidura asks, how does Lord Krishna uh, accept incarnations? How does he create and how does he maintain this world? Um, if we go back to the second canto, the end of second canto, we discussed about Brahma's austerities, and then Brahma received darshan of Lord Vishnu, and then Brahma heard Bhagavatam from Vishnu, and then Brahma gave this knowledge to Narad Muni, and um, when Brahma gave this knowledge to Narad Muni, Brahma described Srimad Bhagavatam in 10 topics. And we discussed, that was, I think, the last chapter of second canto. And we discussed the 10 topics of Bhagavatam. And the first two topics of Bhagavatam were Sarga and Visarga. Sarga is the primary creation, Visarga is the secondary creation created by Brahma. And Sarga is the primary creation created by Narayan himself. So those things we were discussing, but in between, Sutta Goswami and Sona Krishi became very eager. And Sona Krishi asked about, you also mentioned that that Vidura went on a pilgrimage. So please tell me about Vidura's pilgrimage. And that's how this detour happened in the past 4 chapters, where Vidura traveled to Vrindavan and going to Maitreya. And now this conversation again goes back to the topic of Sarga and Visarga, the creation. And from where we left off in that second canto, that process of Bhagavatam of creation will continue through this conversation. And as we discussed earlier, Maitreya Muni is not directly going to speak about Krishna's direct, direct Krishna Katha because they are very intimate. But he's speaking about general topics about Bhagavatam. So here Vidura is asking about general topics first. And he's telling how does Lord Krishna accept incarnation to create and maintain this world. So how does Lord Krishna creates and how does he maintains? Lord Krishna, um, his expansion Vishnu, and Vishnu has multiple expansion. One of them is the Karna Dakshay Vishnu, and from him comes the various universes. So Lord Krishna is doing the creation of this universe and how he enters as Garbhodakshai and Shirodakshai Vishnu as the super soul of the whole universe and how he maintains. So here Vidura is asking, how does Lord Krishna accept incarnations? How he accept incarnations? And through them, he create and maintain this world. Please tell me about that. And Vidura obviously knows everything. So Vidura is telling, please describe how Karana Dakshai Vishnu sleeps in the Viraja river. And we know Karnadaksai Vishnu is the first Vishnu or the Mahavishnu, and he sleeps in the causal ocean or the Viraja river. And um, from his pores, there are so many. When he breathes out, Karnadaksai Vishnu, all the universes comes out. So please describe how he sleeps in the Viraja river, and then how one Lord expands into many forms during the time of creation. So we see that same Mahavishnu expands into many Vishnus and then he entered into each universe. So how Lord Krishna takes various incarnations, how he creates and how he maintains this universe, then how Karno Dakshay Vishnu, the original Mahavishnu, sleeps in Vilaja river, how he expands into many forms. And how the Lord shows his mercy to his devotees, to Brahmanas, to demigods, to the cows, how the Lord protects them also. So the Lord, like this is a part of maintenance, how the Lord reciprocates with his devotees within the universe. And then with like different Leela avatars, basically, various incarnations. Please describe about all of them, all the various incarnations and how um, they protect the devotees. All the devotees, they come um, some way or the other as a reciprocation to either devatas or cows or brahmanas. We see Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, because devatas prayed. So this is Lord reciprocation for devatas, or to protect the devotees, or solace to devotees, to maintain the Brahmanical culture. So in this various Leela Avatara comes. Please describe about all of them. And then Vidura says, our minds are never satiated hearing about them. This is the taste that Vidura has, being a pure soul. He wants to keep hearing about like many times we may have heard about these topics of the Lord are transcendental, they're spiritual by nature. So many times we have heard about Karnadakshay Vishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, creation of universe, um, various incarnations, including Lord Krishna and Lord Ramachandra. But then every time we hear about the same topics again, it sounds like, oh, I want to hear it again. I want to hear it one more time. So we may not be hearing something, we may not necessarily be hearing something new, something we have never heard about. But then it is said these everything that is in Bhagavatam, everything that relates to Krishna, they are divine messages by itself. Just by hearing over and over, we feel like hearing more. Okay, let's hear it more. So Vidura here is telling that our minds are never satisfied hearing them. Although he himself is asking about incarnation of Krishna who creates, then he is asking about Karno Dakshai Vishnu. Then he asks about incarnation of Krishna who maintains, and then he is asking how Karno Dakshai Vishnu expands into many and enters into each universe. So he already has the answers and he is already describing, but then he's still asking, and then he's saying our minds are never satisfied hearing them, so please describe them and about all the incarnations. And then Vidura asks how the Lord creates various planets within this universe. There are 14 planetary system. So how the Lord creates, there is earth, there is higher planets, Swargalok, lower, how the Lord creates the various planetary systems and planets. Then how the Lord assigns the rulers to these planets. Like we have Indra, we have Brahma, we have Vivaswan for Suryadev. How does he assign various rulers? And in these planets where the living entities are situated in, where all living entities are situated based on the modes, we see living entities in mode of goodness reside in higher planetary system. Living entities in mode of passion resides in earth. Living entity in mode of ignorance, they reside in lower planets or in the animal species. So the living entities are residing in all the planets. So how the Lord originally creates the planets and the rulers. Then how does the Lord create this three modes? Rajaguntamo. How does the Lord create the three modes? How does the Lord create the various forms? We see 8.4 million species of life. How he creates various forms, various activities for all these forms or for all kind of people. Um, the various features and names of all different living creatures. How does the Lord create all these things like kutta hai, ghoda hai, billi hai, janwar hai. So these are the various names of various different kinds of living creatures. So how this whole thing, how he does that. In the purport, Prabhupada mentions all these things are part of Brahma's creation. This is secondary creation. The 8.4 million species, the names, form, activities, all these things is Visarga. And it's Krishna who does these things also through Brahma. And that's why we hear Krishna has three incarnations. That he has many incarnations. Six categories of incarnation. One of the category of incarnation is Gunavatar, and Gunavatar is Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And through Gunavatar, Krishna, Lord Narayan creates, maintains, and destroys the material universe and everything within it. So ultimately, it's the Lord only who does everything. We see that um, anyone does anything, it is only possible by the mercy of the Lord. Like um, either Lord's internal potency or Lord's external potency. Everyone does anything is done by the Lord actually. Either the mode of passion is in action, mode of ignorance or mode of goodness is in action, or the internal potency, spiritual chitta shakti, either that is in action. But everything is done by the Lord Himself. And that's why it is described that Lord is, He is the Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. Now, those, of course, we are all practicing the path of Krishna consciousness. Any service we do, any success in any service, whether we are able to, even we are able to chant nicely also by Krishna's mercy. If we are engaging in some outreach activities, then the people Krishna send and the words Krishna speak through us is also Krishna's mercy. Or if we are doing some project, then whatever resources we need to do that project also comes by Krishna's arrangement. So we see in our life also, anything we are able to do is actually Krishna's sanction is needed. And if we do anything wrong, then it's by Krishna's Maya Shakti. So we are always in control. We are we are never in control. Um, Mm. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, ahankara vimudatma kartahamiti manyate. Again, he used the word muda, vimuda, and he used the word vimuda for those also who give up the senses and their mind meditate on the sense object. They are also बेवकूफ लोग हैं वो लोग. एक्सटर्नली तो ऐसे ऐड कर रहे हैं और अंदर वही वही है जो पहले था, बस दिखावा है, तो मिथ्याचारी है. So that, and that is, he is also Mura, he is also Mura, who is another Mura who thinks he is the doer of his activities. So although Brahma is the one who is doing, Brahma knows very well Krishna is doing through me. And whatever I'm able to do is by Krishna's mercy. Um, we see Narad Muni goes to Brahma. We were discussing in second canto. And Narad Muni asks Brahma, Brahma ji, my dear father, it seems like you are the supreme. It seems like all living entities are born from you. I came from your mind. Whatever your desire happens, there is nobody beyond you. Then Brahma says, my dear son Narada, no, this is not the case. Rather, it is the Lord Narayan who is the cause of all causes. And whatever I am able to do is also by his mercy. And Vidura is self-realized. So Vidura is not giving credit to Brahma directly. Vidura is asking, how does the Lord uh, create activities, forms, features, names, or the secondary creation? And Prabhupada says it's done through the agency of Brahma. But ultimately, everything is done by the Lord only. Then after asking these questions, then Vidura expresses exclusive interest in hearing Krishna Katha. Vidura want to hear about all these things. Vidura also want to hear directly about Krishna also. So Vidura says, I have heard from Vyasadeva. Vidura, who is the father of Vidura? Anybody knows who is the father of Vidura?
Sorry, Prabhuji, Vyasadeva himself?
Vyasadeva. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you,
Wow.
Mataji.
Yes,
So
I didn't know
Vyasadeva,
that.
Vyasadeva, through a maid servant, gave birth to Vidura, and through the daughter-in-law of Maharaj Shantanu, Vyasadeva gave birth to Pandu and Dhritarashtra. So they were cousin brothers. But the father of all Pandu, actual seminal father of Pandu, Dhritarashtra, and Vidura is Vyasadeva. So naturally, he's the father. And Vidura here is telling that I have heard about many topics from Vyasadeva. And what I've heard in my earlier conversation with Vyasadeva was the lesser topics like lower and higher statuses of human society. But those topics were devoid of nectar of Krishna's pastimes. And that's why whatever I have heard earlier from Vyasadeva has not satisfied me. So in a way, um, Vidura is telling to Maitreya Muni that I don't want to hear any topic which is devoid of Krishna's pastimes. And this is very nice. This reminds me of the first chapter of first canto, the conversation between Sonakrishi and Sutta Goswami. And even in the later chapters also it comes one more time where Sonakrishi asks questions to Sutta Goswami. And then he says, if I am interested about this topic, if this relate to the topic of Hari, then please describe this also. If this relates to Hari, yeah, it comes, I think, in ninth or 10th chapter, where he asks about, I want to hear about the life of Maharaj Parikshit, about how he was cursed. And then he said, if this topic relate anywhere, any ways to Krishna Katha, then please describe about this. So it is said a devotee does not want to discuss anything which is not connected to Krishna. And here doesn't want to discuss anything which is not connected to Krishna. And here um, Vidura is telling, I heard other topics which were devoid of direct Krishna Katha from Vyasadeva, but I was not very satisfied. So please describe everything that, or um, Vidura is expressing his like keen interest that Krishna has to be the center in everything that I want to hear from you. Obviously, Mehta is a pure devotee, but he's still clarifying the exclusive interest in Krishna Katha. Who in human society can be fully satisfied with hearing the talks? Who who in human society can be fully satisfied with hearing the talks of the Lord? Such topics can cut off one's bondage simply by entering the holes of one's ears. So here another two benefits comes of hearing about Krishna. And one benefit is it is fully satisfying when we hear about Krishna. Another benefit of hearing about Krishna is the bondage or the attachment that we have will be cut by hearing the messages of Lord Krishna as they enter the ear holes. The more we hear about Krishna, the more we become absorbed in hearing about Krishna, our attachment to this word will be cut. Something on attachment, this is again we were discussing yesterday evening. Our attachment is actually the result of our past karma, whatever we are attached in this world. Mahaprabhu says, Dhanam Janam Sundarim. We are attached to um, name and fame, wealth and beauty. These are the major attachments, major stumbling blocks. And it is said that whatever attachments we have is because of our past karma. How? When we do any sinful act, the sinful act has two reactions. We discussed the example of if we rob a bank, it will have two reaction of robbing a bank. One is we will go to jail. The person who robs the bank will end up in going to jail. Suffering will come, direct manifestation. Another subtle reaction of robbing a bank is he will have an increased desire to rob the bank the next time. He feel like I'm more confident. This time I'll rob without actually getting into the jail. I know what mistake I did in the last time. So he will become somehow or other, he will be more inclined to do the sinful act again. So this is the nature of sin. One, if we do a sin, then or if we look for something material, and if we do those material activities, then our eagerness to engage in those same activities again will increase, plus the reaction for naturally every action has a reaction. The karma reaction will also come. And whatever attachments we have, like another example is if we like to visit, say, a restaurant, and if we have been there once, then the tendency, and if we had a good experience, then the tendency to go to the same restaurant again will increase. Likewise, when we do a sinful activity, then the tendency to do the same sinful activity will increase. And whatever attachments we have to whatever activities, especially if they're not conducive for bhakti, then that is because we have fed those activities in the past many times. Krishna says, like putting fuel into the fire. So this is we are bound. We are bound by karma bandhana. Uh, what we want to do or what we are naturally inclined to do. It's actually our previous reactions. That's why we want to do these things. And Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, um, those who have become free from by a lot of pious activities, which actually refers to bhakti, by a lot of bhakti activities, um, whose sinful reactions are gone. Jananam, punya
Yes,
karmanam,
sir. Yeshan prakata papam,
um,
jananam
yes,
punya katina, te
continue.
dvanda moha nirmukta, ajante mam dadapata.
Thank you, Mataji. Te dvanda moha nirmukta bhajante mam vridavrata. So dvanda and moha, we become free from dvandva, duality, and moha. Moha is illusion or attachment. Those whose path have ended and they have become free from the reactions by a lot of bhakti activities. They are free from moha. So whatever attachment we have is actually moha. And that is the result of our past sinful reaction. And that's what Shrimad Bhagavatam describes first canto is we are bound by karma bandhana. Karma bandhana means the previous karma reaction has bound us, and we are simply governed by our conditioning, which is actually governed by three modes or moha, and we want to work in this world now to acquire all these things. This whole thing is illusion. It is described because the soul is part and parcel of Krishna and not interested in any of these things now. But now we are so much bound in this material world and activities of this material world, and we are bound in this whole cycle of illusion which is coming from our past karma. First canto, second chapter describes that one can cut the ropes of karma bandhana, one can cut the ropes of karma, or by ropes of karma means be cutting the ropes of duality and moha and everything that comes with it. So Srimad Bhagavatam says, Sutta Goswami describes one can cut the ropes of karma by the weapon, by the sword, by the weapon of the sword of remembrance of Krishna. So he compares remembrance of Krishna to a sword. And if you remember Krishna, then it's like a sword that will come and free us, karma mukta, and free us from this karma bandhana. By remembering Krishna, we'll become free from this moha and dvandva or duality or attachments and aversions in this world. And we become self-free just by remembering Krishna, Bhagavatam says. And that's what these are all very connected. What Vidura is speaking here, what Krishna speaks in 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, what Bhagavatam, second canto, they're all very, very, very much connected. That what is the cause of our attachments and how can we become free from that. And that's why here Vidura is telling such topics can cut off one's bondage. And one's bondage means moha, one's attachments, or the sinful reactions. They are all connected. So Vidura is telling, please describe about the things that connect to Krishna, the things that were not connected to Krishna, about higher and lower status of human society. When I heard, I was not satisfied. Please discuss directly about Krishna, because by hearing those, when the messages enters the ears, that bondage is cut. That such topics can cut off one's bondage simply by entering the holes of one's ears. And Prabhupada also describes this process of Bhakti Yoga as very scientific. If we really analyze, then we'll understand the benefits of Bhakti, how it frees us. Then Vidura said, your dear friend Vyasadeva. Actually, Vyasadeva is his father and Maityamuni's friend. So there is some connection there also. So your dear friend Vyasadeva has described Mahabharata to attract the mass of people to Krishna Katha, which is the topics of Bhagavad Gita. Actually, Mahabharata deals with many higher and lower statuses and politics and management and many such things that don't directly relate to Krishna. A lot of stories don't, they're all like material activities, like um, so many atrocities on Draupadi, so many atrocities on the Pandavas. In various ways, they were being attempted to be killed. Krishna comes at the end to save them, but many activities, it's just the fight between this and the kingdom and how they're dividing the kingdom, and there are a lot of activities in Mahabharata. And um, Vyasadeva himself says in the 4th chapter of first canto that I have written Mahabharata for less intelligent people. Um, and then he wrote Vedas for higher intelligent people, less intelligent people. He wrote Mahabharata. So why Vyasadeva wrote Mahabharata for less intelligent people, but what was the real purpose? To attract the mass of people to Krishna Katha, which is described in Prabhupada describes in purport as the Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of entire Mahabharata is so that people can come to know about the real purpose of life, which is Bhagavad Gita. So if they become attached to Mahabharata, good. There is some Krishna's activities there, and there is Bhagavad Gita. And although they are less intelligent, they are interested in fruitive topics. They can discuss all these things, but then these things will deliver them. So but here Vidura wants to hear only about Shuddha Bhakti and only the topic that directly relates to Lord Krishna. So he says the purpose of Mahabharata is your friend Vyasadeva has described Mahabharata to attract a mass of people uh, through material topics to Krishna Katha. People are interested in material topics now. Through material topics, he made a way for less intelligent people. Ultimately, the goal is somehow or other hear about Krishna. And what is the result of such hearing? Even little bit that is there of Krishna Katha in Mahabharata. Even if somebody hears little bit of that, the result of such hearing is Krishna Katha increases indifference to other things. And we just discussed the reason we have attachment to other things is also moha, or our past sinful reaction. Um, this is dvandva. Dvandva means I like something and I hate something. And moha means, no, this is what I identify myself with, this is what I want, and I feel this is what will make me happy. So this Dandva and moha is a result of bad karma. It's the result of pap, actually. Pap, sinful activity. That's why we are get into Dvandva and moha. And Krishna says, te dvanda moha nirmukta. ये शम तो अंतगतम पापम, इनके पाप खत्म हो गए. Yesham Tanagata Janana Punya Karmana, by devotional service, birth after birth. जिनके पाप खत्म हो गए, he will be free from Dvandva and Moha. So so Krishna Katha has that value. So anybody, the purpose of Mahabharata, the Vyasadeva wrote, is so that intermittently they can hear about Krishna. Although majority topics are material, still there is intermittent Krishna Katha. And that Krishna Katha will increase indifference to other things, because Moha Dvandva will go away. Such remembrance of the lotus feet of Krishna vanquishes all miseries without delay, and one becomes free from misery. So we discussed today also two results of pap. One is direct misery, and one is attachment to pap again, attachment to do sinful activity again, and the misery itself as a reaction. And here it says the result of hearing both will go away. Indifference to other things and the misery itself. And Vidura says without delay. That is the benefit of hearing about Krishna Katha, which directly deals with the topic of Lord Krishna. Then Vidura says, I pity. Pity मतलब दया आती है. Vidura says, मुझे दया आती है materialists के ऊपर. I pity those who are materialist, those who are ignorant people, जिनको पता नहीं भगवान के बारे में. Yeah, those who are engaged in sinful activities, and those who are not interested in hearing about Krishna, because we know what the result is. If they are engaged in activities and don't want to hear about Krishna, they are they are getting the suffering as a reaction, and they want to do sinful activities more, and they are getting more and more entrapped in this deeper and deeper depths of such activities. So Vidura, very compassionate, Vidura is telling, I pity such people, um, both of them, ignorant and sinful, because their life are spoiled. Their lives are spoiled. Um, that's what Shrimad Bhagavatam also says. Na? Bhagavatam says, um, if our dharma, or if our occupational duty, Bhagavatam says, is some siddhim haritoshanam. The goal is to please Krishna by our occupational duties. And if Krishna is not pleased by our duty, then Bhagavatam says, Shrama eva hi kevalam. Shram means useless labor है वो. श्रम एवा ही केवल मतलब क्या है ना, केवल लेबर हो रहा है, पर उसका कोई फायदा नहीं है. देयर इज नो बेनिफिट. दैट्स व्हाई भागवतम से श्रम एवा. And that's why Bhagavatam says the purpose of all occupational duty is that we must be pleasing to Krishna. So here Vidura is telling, I pity those people who are not able to, whose lives are spoiled, and they do various rituals and they speculate. various things, but they're not interested in, they're averse to Krishna Katha, not interested in discussion about Krishna. Hari Katha alone can do all good. This is the essence of all kind of hearing, is hearing about Hari. Hari Katha alone is sufficient. Hari Katha alone can do good for all good for everyone. Like bees collect honey from flowers, just like bees collect honey from flower. Kindly choose and describe the topics that relate to the message of Hari for our welfare. Just like the bee is only bee, honey bee goes everywhere and only collect the nectar. So likewise, there are so many topics that are described in the Vedas and so many topics that exist in this world. Just like honeybees collect nectar from the flower. From this, whatever thing is known, take only the topic of Lord Hari and relate those things to us for the welfare of all living entities. And then Maitreya was little bit, um, basically, Vidura asked to describe, he glorifies Hari Katha. He describes the benefit of hearing about Krishna. And then he describes, um, please discuss about topics of Krishna. And if somebody asks us, Prabhu, please discuss something about topic of Krishna, then we will also be thinking, oh, Bhagavatam is everything about Krishna, Chaitanya Charitamrita is about Krishna, so many books of our Acharyas, Goswami is about Krishna, the whole Bhagavad Gita is about Krishna. So where do I begin? Where do I start? So he glorifies topics about Krishna. Mehta Muni is pure devotee. He is very eager to speak about Krishna. Most people are not interested. So Mehta Muni is very eager to have this conversation with Vidura, but he is thinking, what do I begin with? Then Vidura says, please start with the activities of the Purusha avatars. Begin with Purusha avatars, Karno Dakshai Vishnu, Garbha Dakshai Vishnu, Shiv Dakshai Vishnu. Start with the process of creation. And that's where the Sarga will again come back. That was stopped at the last chapter of second canto will come back again. Because here Vidura asks, please begin with this topic. Maitra Rishi was greatly honored Vidura, and then Maitra Muni spoke. So these were the inquiries, and then specifically, exclusively should be connected to Hari. Please speak only those topics. And the benefit of speaking about Hari is the bondage is gone, moha is gone, dvandva is gone, misery is gone. And those people who are not interested in Hari Katha, they um, their life is spoiled, basically. And the great souls, they travel everywhere to speak Hari Katha to those who are not interested to hear about Hari, and those who are engaged in fruitive activities, and those who are unhappy doing that. These great compassionate souls, they go and they speak Hari Katha to them, and that's how they become, those who listen, they become free from all their misery and they become happy again. So I want to hear about this topic and begin with discussion about the Purusha avatars. So Maitra Muni, he was very much honored by Vidura's presence, and Maitra Muni said, by your inquiries, you have showed mercy upon me and this world. This is also very nice. Maitra Muni is also, see, Maitra Muni is humility. He is a pure devotee. He heard directly from Krishna Bhagavatam. And Lord Krishna says, the beginning of knowledge is Vinamrata. Beginning of knowledge is humility, Vinay, Vinamrata. If somebody is speaking but they don't have the humility, then their knowledge is actually not considered knowledge. And we see the example from uh, Lord Balaram and Romaharshan Sutta. Romaharshan Sutta was a disciple of Vyasadeva, and he was speaking about great knowledge, spiritual topics. All the Brahmanas were sitting and listening to Romaharshan Sutta, disciple of Vyasadeva, but he did not have the humility. So we see Balaramji wanted to show that knowledge is of no use. So Balaramji killed him by the blade of grass. But here we see Maitra Muni, although Vidura is like, he wants to hear. So he is basically accepting Maitra Rishi as his Shiksha Guru. But here Maitra Rishi is telling, you have showed mercy upon me. by asking these questions. And you have showed mercy on this word. Anybody who discuss about our conversation because it relates to Hari, they will be benefited. I am getting benefited because you are giving me a chance to discuss about Hari. Um, Radheshyam Prabhu came. I mean, in New Vrindavan, I was there for we had a course. Radheshyam Prabhu was one of the teacher who came there, and he gave a talk. And he was mentioning that he asked one brahmachari. This brahmachari, he started a preaching program. So Radheshyam Prabhu asked this brahmachari, so um, um, why are you going to preach in that area? And he said, I'm going to preach there to help them in their Krishna consciousness. So Radheshyam Prabhu says, your basic itself is wrong. You are thinking you are going to help them. So that's not how a devotee thinks. A devotee thinks he is grateful that I am getting this opportunity to discuss about Krishna. So it's going to benefit me because I am getting a chance to discuss about Krishna. And that is the mood we see here in Mitra Muni. He said to Vidura, after he asked, please tell me, discuss Hari Katha, and they should exclusively connect to Hari. Only those topics we want to hear, so that that can only be fully satisfying. And Maitreya Muni said it's a great mercy. So when somebody gives us a chance to speak about Krishna, whether it is our parents or any friends or our children, if anybody is willing to listen about Krishna, then they are doing a great mercy to us, because that way our time will go in glorifying Hari. So that should be the mood. And here Maitreya Muni is telling, by your glorious inquiries, you showed great mercy both on me and this world. It is not astonishing because you are born from Vyasadeva. Um, and he's saying you're a great lineage. Vyasadeva is friend of, they both are friend, Maitreya Muni and Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is Shaktya Avesh, literary incarnation, empowered to write, Vyasadeva. And you are born from Vyasadeva. So you inquiring directly about Hari and only topics related to Hari does not astonish me. Like you see a family who are very dedicated. Suppose come across them, and you see their children are very sincere, great service attitude, and interested and sit and hear about Krishna, and want to serve the devotees. So when you see those qualities in children, you may think, well, it is not astonishing. Of course, it's a previous bhakti, but it is not astonishing by seeing how sincere your parents are. So we can see that yes, you have those qualities Krishna has arranged because the parents have such beautiful consciousness. That's how you were born to them. But your bhakti is coming from your previous life. So here, Metta is telling, being born from Vyasadeva, it is not astonishing because you are born from Vyasadeva, and you have accepted the Lord without deviation. Ananya Bhavena. Ananya means you have no attachment to anything else. Ananya Bhavena, only Krishna. So you asking me to speak topics only that relates to Hari. It's not astonishing. And I also know that you are Yamaraj, and who have now become Vidura due to the curse of Mandavya Muni. If somebody asks, where does Bhagavatam says that Vidura is Yamaraj? And here Maitreya Muni is telling to Vidura that I know that you are Yamaraj, who has now appeared as Vidura due to the curse of Mandavya Muni. And we know the pastime. Prabhupada gives the story in detail. Mandavya Muni, he went through some trouble. The king punished him. Um, um, he was punished for death sentence by the king. Um, um, and Mandavya Muni, he was thrown on those changa. Changas are like raised um, arrows. So anybody who is thrown into that, his body is like broken into many pieces or pierced by many arrows, and there is an instant death. But when Mandavya Muni fell on that changa, when Mandavya Muni body, he just went and he sat there and he was remembering the Lord, and no hole could come into Mandavya Muni's body. Mandavya Muni was very pure-hearted, self-realized, and he could do it. He has all the mystical powers also. So the king realized this is a great Muni and he is not a thief. Actually, king's servant thought Mandavya is a thief, and that's why they gave him a punishment. But Mandavya had no role in that thievery. So Mandavya did not. Then king begged forgiveness from Mandavya Muni, and Mandavya Muni, he walked out. Then Mandavya Muni went to Yamaraj, and Mandavya Muni asked Yamaraj, why I had to go through this suffering. This is also very intelligent. Mandavya Muni did not find king as the cause of his suffering or curse the king. He knew that everything is destined. King was an instrument, and this suffering came to me. But why this suffering came to me? He was thinking, Mandavya, what wrong did I do in my life? And I am a devotee, so no past karma, obviously. And I have, what wrong did I do that the king became an instrument to bring such humiliation in the public? It's a suffering. Somebody humiliates you in public and says you are a thief and you should be killed, and such in the whole sabha, such things came upon me. Why did I go through that? So Mandavya Muni went to Yamaraj and he says, Sir, what is the cause? Yamaraj looked into everything and Yamaraj said, you performed this activity when you were a child. And Mandavya Muni said, but that time I was less than 5 years old. Mandavya Muni knows everything about the Shastra. So he says, less than 5 year old, there is no karma. And the child is in ignorance. After 5 years, the consciousness is more developed to get discrimination of what is right, what is wrong. Before 5, you cannot. So Mandavya, then Yamaraj was like, yeah, you should not have gone through that suffering. So Mandavya Muni became unhappy with Yamaraj, and Mandavya Muni cursed Yamaraj that you have performed the act of a Shudra. So I curse you to become a Shudra. And that's how Yamaraj appeared to the son of a maid servant. And that's why um, he was not of the same birth physically compared to Dhritarashtra and Pandava, but he was like the guru of Dhritarashtra and Pandava because he is Yamaraj, he is a Mahajan. Um, hmm. So I know that you are Yamaraj. So Maitreya know that he is son of Vyasa and he is Yamaraj, and he is inquiring to discuss about topics that relates only to Krishna. And the chapter begins by saying that Vidura has attained perfect devotional service already. So Maitreya Muni know, and Maitreya Muni, and he's asking Maitreya Muni to speak about Hari. So Maitreya Muni is very grateful, and he says, "You have shown mercy upon me by choosing me to describe this. You are the Lord eternal associate." And Maitreya also knows that Vidura is not an ordinary soul. And Maitreya then says, this is very nice. This relates to last chapter also. Maitreya Muni himself confirms. He says, you are the Lord's eternal associate, and for your sake, the Lord left instructions with me before departing. And actually, we discussed this last week. Lord Krishna looked at Maitreya and he says, give this instruction to Vidura. And Maitreya know that Lord himself took his name and he just used me as an instrument to give instruction to you. And you are the eternal associate of the Lord. And that's what Uddhava said, that the Lord remembered you. And naturally he was wailing and crying when he heard that how Lord loves him. So you are the Lord eternal associate, and for your sake the Lord left instruction with me before departing. So that's the first part of this chapter. Um, Maitreya Muni said, I shall describe to you the pastimes of Purusha incarnation, the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the universe. Everything about all these three different kind of uh, Narayan and the whole process of creation. Then Maitreya Muni explains the entire process of creation. That is technical, but that is described by Maitreya in the rest of the chapter. So this is almost half. I thought of covering only to this point today. And if there is any discussion, then we can take now. Okay. So I think we can end here. Thank you for joining. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhaya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Shila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for joining. Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Dandavat Pranam.